There was a girl named YN. She wasn't the kind of girl people paused for. She didn't shine the way the world expected, nor did she ever get the chance. She wasn't born under a lucky star, or perhaps she was born under none at all. Her family called her a burden before they ever called her by name. Born into a house where the walls whispered worth only to her brother, YN had learned early that love was not given freely. While her brother was celebrated for the smallest achievements, YN's struggles went unnoticed. A hunger sometimes for food, sometimes for affection, was brushed off like dust on furniture. There were no warm meals waiting for her after school. No new clothes bought out of care. No soft words tucked into bedtime. Her basic necessities were considered luxuries. She had to earn them. By the time most children were learning how to play, YN had learned how to survive. She worked odd chores, washing dishes in neighbors' houses, folding clothes, running errands in harsh sun and colder evenings. The coins she collected were not to save for dreams, but to afford reality. And still, it was never enough. Her family's indifference was more brutal than strangers' cruelty. She was hit sometimes, ignored, always mentally crushed daily. No one celebrated her birthdays. No one asked if she had eaten. No one saw her tears as a cry for help. They saw them as weakness. In that house, emotions were a waste, and she was the biggest one. She had no friends, no safe corner, no diary full of secrets, only one hidden wish scratched quietly on the inside walls of her heart. Just one day. One day of living like she mattered. One day of breathing without fear. One day of laughter without guilt. One day of being seen, heard, loved. Even if death came after, she wouldn't mind. But just once. She wanted to live on the other side of that very same world, in a high-rise apartment surrounded by silence that echoed louder than noise. Lived Jungkook. The golden boy. The one with a last name that made people bow without reason. Wealth. He had it. Status. Everyone wanted to be him. But freedom. He hadn't tasted it in years. Jungkook was raised in a family of power, where love. Was written in contracts and expectations were thicker than blood. His father saw him as an heir, not a son. His mother saw him as a product of the perfect family image, not a person. Everything he had came with a price. Tag of duty, control, perfection. They didn't ask how he felt. They asked what he achieved. He had friends, or so it seemed. People surrounded him, laughed with him, partied next to him, but when the music stopped and his heart ached quietly in the background, no one heard. No one stayed. No one asked, "Are you okay?" Except Jun, his childhood best friend, the only one who knew him behind the masks. And Emily, his girlfriend, the one person Jungkook trusted with the parts of him that weren't polished or proud. But even in the comfort of those two closest bonds, a part of him still longed for something deeper, something unexplainable. He didn't know what yet, and neither did she. That destiny. Fate had some other plans. Morning sunlight had barely spilled into the city when Jungkook's voice clashed against his father's in their cold, polished mansion. "I'm not a machine, Appa. I'm your son. Then act like one. You don't get to choose emotions over empire." Those words burned deeper than anything else. Not because they were harsh, but because they were true reflections of what his father believed. Jungkook wasn't a person. He was a plan. He didn't respond. He didn't yell anymore. He simply grabbed his keys and walked out, breathing fast. Hands shaking not from anger, but from that old familiar ache in his chest. He drove fast, Without thinking he needed Jun the one person who understood. The only one who never judged. Jungkook reached Chung's house, punching in the passcode. Like he had 100 times before. He didn't knock, he never had to but the moment he stepped inside, something was off. He heard it. Giggling. His chest loosened a bit. Maybe Jun was watching something. Stupid on Netflix again. He walked towards the room, expecting a casual greeting. The door was already open. But what he saw, he would remember it even if he lost every other memory. Jun Emily his best friend his girlfriend together naked neved. Laughter still on their lips. Passion in their eyes eyes that widened only when they saw him. The hallway spun the breath caught in Jungkook's throat like it didn't want to leave. Jungkook, wait. Jung got up, panicked, grabbing a shirt. Jungkook's hand flew to his face as if trying to unsee, trying to unlive that moment. He grabbed Chun's collar before. His brain even caught up. His voice shook like broken glass. How dare you? How dare you? JK, bro. Please, it's not what it looks like. Jun stammered. But then, Emily spoke and her words were like acid. Babe, just calm down me, and June were going to tell you. Babe? He repeated like the word stabbed him. His hands dropped everything went silent inside. Him like something died. He didn't say another word. He didn't need to he turned around. Walked out, left his trust, his love, his loyalty in that cursed room. The ocean was loud, but not louder than his scream. Just one sincere person. One person who isn't fake. Is that too much to ask? Why me? Why always me? Asterisk. He fell to his knees on the rocky shore, fists clenched, lips trembling, heart beating like a broken drum. Tears didn't ask for permission, they simply came. He could destroy the world. But he couldn't hurt them. He hated that. About himself. He stayed there for over an hour until his screams turned into silence, until his heart grew tired of beating. And then he drove. Eyes swollen, body numb, not knowing where or why. Until fate brought him to a quiet street in a poor neighborhood. That's when he saw her. A woman middle-aged, angry, shoving a girl out a rusted door. Get lost, YN. You hear me? Never come back. You're a burden. The girl was crying, begging. Please, Ioma. Please just let me stay. I don't need anything. I swear I won't ask for anything. Ever again. Just let me live here. Just let me exist. The door slammed. She fell to her knees. Right there. On the street. Like she didn't care if the world saw her broken. Jungkook's eyes stung. That moment, it cut through his own pain. He stepped out of the car, slowly, walking towards her. Miss, are you okay? Do you need help? Wayne looked up, startled. She quickly wiped her tears with the back of her hand, trying to save what little pride she had left. No, I don't need anything, mister, but thank you. She stood up, her voice fragile but polite. Wait, he said softly. I can help you if you... There's nothing you can help me with. She didn't say it out of rudeness. She said it like a person who had been disappointed too many times to hope anymore. And then she walked away. Jungkook stood still, watching her walk slow, broken, barefoot. He didn't even realize when his pain became secondary. Who was she? And why did her sadness feel like something he'd known all his life? He returned to his car. But didn't leave. He just sat there. And for the first time that day, He wasn't crying about himself. He was wondering, who cries for her? He didn't know why ... but something in her walk, her silence, her trembling ... hands, wouldn't let him leave. Jungkook didn't follow people ... but he followed her. From a quiet distance, he watched her enter a small cafe ... at the corner of the street. The place looked warm from ... the outside golden lights, wooden benches, soft music playing low. But inside, her presence looked out of place. ... like she didn't belong there. ... like pain had followed her in and sat across from her. He parked his car right outside, keeping his eyes fixed through the glass window. She sat alone at a corner table ... no bag, no phone, no order. A waiter approached her once ... she shook her head politely ... again ... He nodded slightly but said nothing ... the third time. The waiter's tone grew sharper. Miss, this is not a waiting area. If you're not ordering anything ... that was enough ... Jungkook opened the door and stepped in. The chime of the cafe bell cut the tension. He walked straight to the counter, placed an order ... for 2 coffees, a croissant, and some warm waffles, then turned toward her. She looked up, startled again. He walked to her table slowly, eyes kind, voice calm. Miss, I'm sorry, but all tables are full. Would you mind if I sit here? It wasn't true. There were a few empty spots ... but he knew she wouldn't accept charity ... she might accept coincidence. She hesitated ... but nodded. Quietly, he sat. Moments later, the waiter brought over the tray. Coffee steamed in white mugs, and the smell of fresh pastry filled the small space between them. Please, eat, he offered gently. She blinked, unsure ... was this a trick? A test? No, thank you. I'm fine, she whispered, voice low. Hands folded in her lap. He smiled softly. I know it's strange, but the truth is, I don't have anyone to eat with, and I'd really appreciate it if you could keep me company. Just a few bites, please. ... something about the way he said it genuinely, humbly made it hard to refuse ... not because she was convinced, but because no one had ever said that to her before. Ever. She glanced at the food, then at him. He wasn't dressed like anyone she'd ever met. His jacket looked expensive, his hands clean and strong. But his eyes, they looked tired, just like hers. Okay, she said softly, almost shyly. He pushed the plate a little closer ... She took a piece of waffle. Hesitantly, they ate in silence. But it wasn't awkward ... it was strangely warm. Halfway through the meal, he finally spoke again. His voice was gentle, almost like a whisper wrapped in vulnerability. Miss, may I ask something? She looked at him. Can you please let me help you? ... Hands froze. I don't want anything in return. It's just, when I saw you on that street, I forgot my own pain for a second. Helping you, it feels like I'm helping the broken part inside myself too. So please, if not for you, then for me. Let me help. Her eyes welled up, not because of what he said, but because he meant it, and she didn't even know his name for a moment. In that tiny cafe, in the middle of a world that never cared ... 2 strangers shared a table. 2 broken hearts met in quietness, and fate softly whispered, "This is where your story begins." The quiet hum of the cafe filled the space between them. Cups half empty, plates now only crumbs. But the silence wasn't empty ... it was healing. Jungkook leaned back slightly, watching the way she held ... her cup with both hands, like she needed ... its warmth more than the coffee ... Her eyes looked at the floor, but he could feel the stories behind them. He took a breath, hesitated, then finally asked, "Miss, please don't mind. But that woman, the one who pushed you out of the house, was she your boss?" He paused, then added gently, "I'm sorry if that sounds rude. It's just no one deserves to be treated that way." In's hands froze around the cup. Her lashes trembled for a moment, as if shielding herself from something sharp. It was the first time anyone had asked her. The first time someone had seen what hurt her and didn't just look away. Her voice came out quietly. "That was my mom." Jungkook's chest tightened. His lips parted, but no words came out. Mom. That word didn't belong with what he saw. How could a mother throw her own daughter into the streets like garbage? I'm sorry," he finally managed to whisper. She shook her head lightly, brushing it off like she always did. "It's nothing new. I was never really a daughter to her." Jungkook lowered his gaze as guilt washed over him, not because of anything he did, but because people like her existed unloved, and people like her mother existed at all. His voice softened even more. "Can I help you, please? In any way, even if it's small. Just tell me what you need." She looked at him now. Really looked. For a second he felt bare, like she could see through him, not his designer coat, not the expensive watch peeking from his wrist, but his swollen, red eyes, the way his shirt was still damp and sandy from the sea. He hadn't said a word about what happened, but she noticed. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady but full of something curious. "Why would you want to help someone like me when clearly you're hurting too?" It was a strange moment for Jungkook. Because no one ever asked that. No one cared about his pain, not even those closest to him. She didn't know his name. Yet somehow she saw him more clearly than anyone ever had. He blinked, caught off guard. "Greater than I'm Jungkook," he said, offering a small smile. "And I'm okay, miss. Really, nothing happened to me. All I know is helping you makes me feel like maybe something in me can breathe again." She held his gaze for a long second, then said something that made his heart pause. "I think you need help too. And if you take mine, then I'll take yours." Jungkook looked at her, almost stunned. Not by her words, but by the kindness in them. In a world where she had every reason to be selfish, bitter, or closed off, she was offering him help. A girl with no home, no food, no warmth, offering comfort to a stranger. He smiled genuinely, quietly. The first real smile in days. "Deal," he whispered. And for the first time, both of them didn't feel so alone. When Wyan agreed to go with him, she didn't know why. She didn't even pause to think. It just felt right. She followed Jungkook outside, where his sleek black car waited quietly beneath the cloudy sky. He opened the door for her, without saying anything. Not out of pride, just instinct. Kindness. Inside, the silence between them was no longer awkward. It was filled with quiet understanding. Jungkook looked at her for a brief second, before starting the engine. "I think we should go get some clothes," he said with a light chuckle. "We both look kinda defeated." A soft, surprised smile curved on Wyan's lips. It wasn't planned. It just came. The first one in a long time that wasn't fake. WASN single quotes T force. WASN single quotes T for survival. He noticed it. Didn't say anything, but it made something in his chest loosen. As they drove through the half-sleeping city, in quietly, glanced at him, eyes roaming over the slight cuts on his knuckles, the red rims around his eyes, the dried sea salt on his sleeves. Your knuckles. They're hurt, she said softly. And your eyes. They're red too. Did your family abandon you as well? Jungkook let out a low, broken laugh. Not because it was funny. But because it was tragically accurate. They'll never abandon me, he said with a bitter smirk. That would be their loss. They'd rather keep me as their obedient son. Their golden puppet. He paused. Inside his head, his thoughts were spiraling. What are you doing, Jungkook? Why are you saying this? Why are you sharing your feelings? You never do that. Not even with Jun. Not even with Emily. And now you're sitting here with a stranger. Why? Does this feel so easy? So real? He blinked, forcing himself back to the present. Sorry, he mumbled, shaking his head. YN tilted her head slightly, brows furrowing in concern. Double quote, sir. I didn't understand what you meant, she said gently. Double quotes. Why would your parents want to keep you as their slave? Jungkook hesitated, then sighed. My father. He's a big businessman. Wants me to take over the entire empire. Wants me to obey, perform, earn, and never feel. Emotions don't belong in his world. I was never allowed to be me. Only the version they molded. Wyan's lips parted in wonder. How strange, she thought. To have everything yet still be caged. To be surrounded by riches, but starved of affection. She understood that feeling all too well. Jungkook looked at her again, curious now. But why does your mother treat you like that? What could make a mother so cruel to her own daughter? In's fingers tightened around her seatbelt. But her voice stayed steady. Because to her, I'm invisible. All of them. I don't shine like my brother. I don't earn their pride. I just exist. Quietly. Forgotten. She turned her face to the window, voice quieter now. You're the first person who's seen me. Actually seen me. The car was silent again. But this time, it wasn't sad. It was sacred. Two strangers. One seat apart. One moment closer. And just like that, a billionaire's heir and a forgotten girlhunger came. Mirrors each seeing what no one else ever dared to look at. The silence in the car was comforting, yet heavy with unspoken pain. Jungkook kept glancing at YN, unsure how to respond to the weight of her words. You're the first person who sees me. It struck him deeper than he'd expected. How do you answer that? How do you fix a soul that's been ignored for so long? Before he could figure it out, they reached a shopping mall. Jungkook parked the car and stepped out, quietly motioning for her to follow. Wei-An hesitated, confused, unsure, and overwhelmed, but something inside told her to trust him. Inside, Jungkook picked out some clothes for them both. Nothing too fancy, just clean and simple. Yet, to YN, it was everything. No one has ever bought her clothes before. No one ever saw her brokenness and tried to dress the wounds with kindness. She smiled, unaware that her lips curled genuinely this time. It wasn't forced. It wasn't fake. It was the kind of smile that made Jungkook's heart ache in a strange, unfamiliar way. They changed clothes and stepped out in fresh outfits. Somehow, the world felt lighter. Then, as they walked side by side, Jungkook turned to her and said, You know, YN, do you want to hear what my biggest dream is? She stopped in her tracks. Bull quotes. How do you know my name? She asked softly, stunned. Jungkook scratched the back of his neck, caught off guard. I heard it when your mom. I just heard it. Doesn't matter. He tried to brush it off. Forget all the trauma for now. Let's just enjoy this one day. Sincerely, fearlessly. There was a pause in his voice, but his eyes never wavered. Yeenin, helping you feels like I'm helping myself. It's strange. But when I look at you, it's like I see a reflection of me. The dot parts of me that no one else ever sees. You feel real. Jungkook's voice was full of something YN had never heard before. Rawness. Honesty. It's my biggest dream, he continued. To live just one day. With someone who's innocent, sincere, and doesn't want anything but kindness. The moment I saw you, it felt like you were that person. YN was speechless. Her chest tightened. No one had ever said such things to her. Not even close. And then, she surprised even herself when she said, "Do you know what my dream is?" He looked at her with genuine curiosity. "My dream is to live just one day," she whispered. "Just one day fully, to feel what happiness even means. I've never known how to live, Jungkook. No one's ever cared about me. But even if I die after that one day, I won't have any regrets." The words tore through the silence. They were heavy, but honest. Jungkook's heart twisted painfully. He didn't know this. Girl, he barely knew her at all, but her pain was his. And somehow, her dream became his mission. "Then let's do this," he said suddenly, eyes gleaming with determination. YN looked at him, confused. "Let's live that dream today. Just once. No past, no tomorrow. Just you and me, YN. Let's live for ourselves right now." YN nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. Without thinking, Jungkook grabbed her hand, and they ran. Toward his car. Toward the unknown. Toward something that felt like freedom. Maybe it was crazy. Maybe it was reckless. But for the first time in both their lives, it felt right. It didn't ask where they were going. For the first time. In her life, she simply trusted someone, a stranger, but something about Jungkook felt like home. The kind of home she never had. Jungkook drove quietly, glancing at her from time to time. A soft smile tugging at his lips. She looked out the window. With curious eyes, unaware of where she was heading. But her heart oddly felt at peace. The car finally pulled up in front of something magical, an amusement park. Her eyes widened like a child seeing the world for the first time. Her lips parted in disbelief. It's so beautiful," she whispered, before letting out a squeal of pure joy. She had only ever heard about amusement parks from her parents, when they used to take her brother. Her brother always came back bragging, just to remind her what she never had. But today she was here. With someone who looked at her like she mattered. Jungkook smiled as her excitement lit up the whole place. "Let's ride it all," he said. And she nodded with a childlike grin. He walked over to a stall and came back with a funky headband, big colorful ears and sparkles. "For you," he said. She beamed. "You have to wear one too." Jungkook chuckled, gave in, and wore a silly one too. They took selfies, both of them looking adorably happy. So effortlessly cute. So free. And then he grabbed her hand again. "Come on." Ferris wheel. They ran like kids. Screaming, laughing, yelling with joy at the top of their lungs. They rode the Ferris wheel, the roller coaster, the TEACUPS everything. Cotton candy. And she ate it with sparkles in her eyes. It was like the world had reset. Like the pain didn't exist. For the first time, Felt something new. She felt seen. She felt like she belonged. She felt happy. And Jungkook? He smiled more than he had in years. Watching her smile, watching someone so broken still shine. It did something to his soul. He held her hand gently and led her to a little vintage photo booth. Let's take memories, he said softly. They made silly faces. They pouted. They smiled. They laughed until their stomachs hurt. A bundle of photos, printed out memories, frozen in time. Two strangers. One day. A lifetime of healing. On their way back to the car, an old woman passing by. Smiled and softly said, "Nice couple. God bless you both." Both Jungkook and YN froze for a second, their faces turning red with a bashful glow. Jungkook looked away, scratching the back of his neck, his voice barely above a whisper. He leaned closer and said, "Get ready for the next destination." YN didn't ask where. She didn't need to. She just nodded. She trusted him, trusted a stranger, because somehow he felt like home. A home she never had. Jungkook drove them towards the sea. The sky had started to melt into hues of orange and pink. The waves crashed gently in the distance, and the salty wind carried a whisper of something magical. As soon as they arrived, Jungkook ran towards the shore. Barefoot, heart racing, and screamed his lungs out into the open sky. But this time, it wasn't grief pouring out of him. It was freedom. It was the sound of a soul finally breathing. This was the same place where, just this morning, he had collapsed onto the sand, crying his heart out, broken, hollow, lost. The waves had witnessed his pain. The sky had carried his silent screams. But now the sea heard laughter. The wind carried joy. Because beside him stood YN, the very prayer he had whispered into every quiet night, now smiling at him, like the answer he never thought he'd receive. She stood there stunned for a moment, watching him glow. In the golden dusk, the sea behind him like a painted dream. Then she smiled, wide, soft, full of something magical. And in that second, everything felt right. He turned, laughing breathlessly, eyes lit like galaxies. Catch me if you can. And she ran after him. They ran along the beach like kids tripping, chasing, laughing until they collapsed onto the cool sand, breathless and glowing. They lay there side by side, gazing at the setting sun as it dipped below the horizon. The sky was ablaze, but not as much as the spark between them. The world around them looked like a fairy tale, but they looked more beautiful than any sunset. But happiness never lasts forever. The sky darkened. Stars scattered across the night sky like quiet prayers. Jungkook turned his head toward her, his voice now gentle and serious. "Now, let's eat something." She nodded silently, not ready to break the dream, yet trusting whatever came next. He brought her to a restaurant, but not just any restaurant. It had a rooftop view of the entire city bathed in shimmering lights. He booked the entire place. "I didn't want anyone disturbing us," he said shyly, avoiding eye contact. YN walked up to the edge, mesmerized. "It's so beautiful," she breathed. "Not more than you," Jungkook whispered, but only loud enough for the wind to carry. They sat and ate a warm, cozy dinner under the stars. They had ice cream for dessert, talked about silly things, laughed, shared glances filled with unspoken things. And now, it was time to say goodbye. Maybe. Night had cloaked the world in a deep velvet hush, and the city lights blinked like silent witnesses. As Wine glanced at the time on Jungkook's watch, a shadow crossed her face. I think I should leave now, she whispered, her voice trembling like a goodbye hidden in the wind. Jungkook's heart clenched painfully. Where will you go? Back, she said softly. To my house. But don't worry, my mum won't know. I begged her to let me stay out tonight. He stared at her. This girl with stardust in her soul and dot cracks in her smile, and said, Please don't go. You don't have to return to what hurt you. Double quotes. Quotes. She smiled. Broken yet brave. You've already given me more than anyone ever has. You gave me a dream I thought I'd never live. Today, this memory is more than enough. It's not enough for me, Jungkook breathed, stepping closer. You don't understand. I don't want you to suffer anymore. Just stay. We'll figure everything out. Together. Tears welled in YN's eyes, but she stood up slowly. I don't want to be your burden, Jungkook. He reached for her hand. No. Her wrist, the same way. You'd stop time if you could. You're not a burden, YN. You're peace. You're the home I never knew I was missing. And for a moment the walls she'd built all her life trembled and fell. She couldn't fight the tears anymore. She collapsed into his arms, hugging him like he was the safest place on earth. Okay, she whispered. They sat in the car afterward, the seats holding the weight of unspoken feelings. They watched the stars, pointing out constellations like they were telling each other stories with their hearts. He kissed her knuckles gently. She smiled, like a sunset, soft and glowing. Then Jungkook started the car. They drove slowly, the city fading behind them as he took her to a secret place. A hidden apartment no one knew about. A safe haven just for them. But fate had been listening too closely. And just like that, a blinding flash, a screech. A track, then silence. The world turned upside down in a heartbeat. The stars above blinked. And somewhere in that spinning blur of broken glass and shattering dreams, time froze. Because the universe, cruel as it is sometimes, steals what feels most like home. The sound of the ambulance siren split the night like a scream, slicing through the soft silence of a dream-turned nightmare. Lights flashed. People shouted. And in the middle of it all too, bodies lay still. Blood, broken glass, prayers hanging in the air like unfinished stories. Jungkook and YN were rushed to the hospital, but fate had already made its cruel decision. She didn't make it. The girl who once breathed magic into silence had taken her final breath somewhere between hope and heartbreak. Her prayer had been simple all her life. Just one day. Just one day of peace, of love, of feeling alive. And in the cruel poetry of the universe, that wish had been granted. Just one day. With him and now. She was gone, no regrets, no complaints, only a faint, eternal smile resting on her lips as if to say I was loved. And that was enough. Jungkook was taken to the operation theatre. The doctors did everything they could after hours of trying. He was finally out of danger. His family arrived the doctors asked about the girl who was with him but no one knew YN she had no phone no ID family. They kept her body in the cold room, waiting for Jungkook to wake up. 2 days later, he opened his eyes first word on his lips was YN. The doctor came in to check on him He wasn't fully conscious, so they gave him medicine to rest the next day. His condition improved. Again, he asked, Where's YN? The girl who was with me. Is she okay? The doctor lied. His family lied. She's okay. Just in another room, still recovering. Double quotes. He smiled faintly. Good. She's okay. But then came the fifth day. Jungkook, now strong enough to walk, asked again. I want to see her. Please. The doctor's face dropped. He sighed deeply and gently said, Sir, please don't panic. But that miss, she's no more. Jungkook's world shattered. He fell unconscious from the shock. When he awoke, reality was waiting for him like a storm. He ran, not caring about pain, stitches, or tears, straight to the cold room. And there she was, still, silent, peaceful. He screamed, cried, held her tight, kissed her forehead again and again. Come back. Please come back. You promised me. We'll live together. But she was gone. Forever. Jungkook wasn't the same anymore. He was alive. But not living. He breathed. But not with meaning. He arranged her funeral like a husband would. As if she was his whole family. Because she was. His heart died that day too. Only difference was, his heart still beat. Years passed. But Jungkook never did. He never moved on. Not from her. Not from the day they laughed like kids in a photo booth, taking silly pictures. Her hands framing his face, both of them smiling like life had no ending. It did, and it ended for him that day. Since then, he visited her grave every single day. Rain or shine. Cold or burning heat. He would sit by her stone and speak softly, like she was still there beside him. Telling her everything, how the day went, what dream he saw. How he misses her laugh. He even imagined her replies sometimes, smiling through his tears. Sometimes breaking down mid-sentence. They said time heals. But how can time fix a heart that chose to stay broken? The Jungkook, time never moved. It froze that night. The night she stayed. She was supposed to leave. She wanted to. But he asked her to stay. And she did. And then they met with the accident. Every night, that regret howled louder than the wind. If I had just let her go, she'd be alive. Maybe she'd be safe. Maybe she'd be happy. He never moved on. He couldn't. His family threatened him to marry. You're wasting your life. She's gone. She's not coming back. You'll regret it one day. But Jungkook looked them straight in the eye and whispered, I already lost everything. What more can you take from me? So they gave up. But he never loved again. Instead of love, he poured his soul into helping children. Children like YNGIV them dreams. Because she never got to live hers. Every night, before sleeping, he took out one small photo from his wallet. The black and white booth picture they took that day. Her cheeks pressed to his. Their eyes closed. Laughing. Alive. Top together. That photo was his only warmth. His only reason to breathe. He never married. He never loved again. He never truly lived again. But he remembered. That one day. And every single second. Until the end. Some people wait a lifetime for a love like this. I only had a day. But that one day became my forever.